Council meeting to order. City Recorder Krieger, please call roll.
Councillor Godussi.
Present.
Councillor Hu.
Here.
Mayor Lube. Here. Councillor Robbins is excused. Councillor Schlack.
Here.
Councillor Shaw.
Here.
Council President Wolf.
Here.
And Youth Councillor Manini is excused.
Thank you. If everyone will please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, everyone. Does the City Council or City Team have any non-agenda items this evening?
Mayor, I have one non-agenda item
Yeah, and what's your non-agenda item?
regarding city's policy for annual performance review and merit increases for public officers.
Okay.
Mayor, I have two quick items that I wish to discuss quickly with the council. One is about our policy for a council member for providing legislative testimony, and another one is about our review process for allegation of misconduct against our municipal judge.
Councillor Schlack, could yours be addressed during the session on budget with the council?
You mean?
Because I think it's merit increases, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's more policy and process related than it is actual dollar amounts.
Okay.
So I would prefer to keep it separate.
Okay. We will add those items to non-agenda items. The first item on the agenda is a proclamation. And I would like to bring up Natalie Wilhoit and her family. If you want to come up and have a seat for us, just so we can properly honor you. For those who may not know, Natalie Wilhoit is a senior at Tigard High School, and she made history recently by winning the first ever girls wrestling state title for the city of Tigard. Congratulations. She competed in the 170-pound weight class for 5A, 6A state championship tournament. She has showcased incredible skill, determination, and resilience, securing a dominant victory. And throughout her high school career, she's continuously refined her skills, grew in confidence, and met every challenge with perseverance, proving herself against strong competition. And her success represents not only a personal triumph, but also a milestone for girls wrestling, which is a rapidly growing sport that provides young women with opportunities for leadership, discipline, and empowerment through competition. She serves as a role model for aspiring athletes, breaking barriers, and paving the way for future generations of female wrestlers at Tigard High School and beyond. So today is actually proclaimed as Natalie Wilhoit Day in the city of Tigard. Would you like to come up and receive your proclamation with your family and take pictures? I know moms typically like that.
What's your favorite move? I was wrestler too for years.
I got pretty good at head and arm this year, but I kind of rely on it a little too much.
You surprise your opponents.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on in. Certainly.
That's really nice.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Those wishing to call in and provide public comment by phone should do so now to get into the queue. And the phone number is 503-966 4101. And anyone wishing to comment remotely should also log in by video. We did have 2 written comments received by noon yesterday. One was from Jenny Lopez and one was from George Miller. And both of those topics were in regards to the food cart pod regulations. We do have people signed up in person. When you come up, please let us know your name and your city of residence. You will have 2 minutes for your topic. And I just, friendly reminder, public comment is for the city council to receive information, and it's not typically a dialogue. So as long as we have your contact information, we can follow up with you. The first person is George Miller. Come on up. Welcome, George.
Mayor, is it okay if we have all the people from our pod come up here at the same time? I think there's some other people, other pods that are gonna be speaking.
Sure. Can you turn your microphone on? Yeah. You've got your 2 minutes, but if you want everyone to sit with you, you're welcome to do so.
Yeah. Come on, gang, come on up. You can slide some more chairs if you need. Actually, all right. Okay, my name is George Miller, and I and my fellow folks here are from the Tigard Food Pod, and we're at Hudson Plaza. I want to thank you folks for allowing us to again submit more written testimony and more verbal testimony tonight. What we are asking is we think we have a great solution, and we can go underneath the non-conforming use. It is a solution that will meet all the city's goals and all the city's requirements for the pod. And we will commit to standards that will guarantee we will continue to meet those goals in the future. And I believe Carol passed out an extra piece of paper from us at the start of the meeting, and it has 2 red sentences in it. That's it, right there. That is critical for our presentation. That is what's required for non-conforming use. And we just need 2 slight modifications, and we're under non-conforming use. The first one is the requirement that the carts be on a paved surface. And we don't think that's required because who cares what the cart is sitting on? It's what the public walks on. So if we could have that modified to be what the public walks on needs to be paved, that would be our first requirement. Our second requirement's a little more complicated, but fairly simple. We're allowed 3 carts per tax lot. We have 2 tax lots, that gives us 6 carts.
I'm going to ask you to wrap up, please, George.
Okay, I will. 30 more seconds. 3.
I'm going to ask you to wrap up, George, just so I
Okay.
can make sure everybody gets their 2 minutes and we
Can I
can go
have
back
somebody
to.
else's 2 minutes? I only need 30 of them.
Well, the next person I have on the list is Jenny Lopez. So, what is your name? Who would like to?
I'm Jenny Lopez, so if he needs 30 more seconds, that's fine.
Okay.
All right. Second one is we're allowed 3 carts per each tax lot. We have 2 tax lots in our parking lot. So all we ask for is 6 carts total. So instead of spreading the 6 carts over 2 tax lots, let us put them anywhere on our parking lot we want. And if you would allow us that modification, we will be out of your hair, and you folks and the planning department could deal with much important stuff than our little food pot. I'm done.
Thank you, George. Jenny Lopez?
Hi, Mayor. Hi, Council. We were here a couple weeks ago, as you guys remember. Just a reminder, I am a Tigard resident, and I do own a food cart in Tigard and at Hudson Plaza. We are in the process of opening up a tap house and indoor seating that's supported by a food cart pod. We're back because we have not been able to find a resolution while still been working with city members, so that's why we're here again tonight. Also, over the past 2 weeks, I've spoken with a lot of local food cart owners and businesses about these new regulations, and many of us were not aware of these emergency orders. I took it upon myself to share the link with these people that to register as a pre-existing cart. A lot of these businesses are family-run, and they are essential to this community. They are struggling to understand the new regulations and then adapt to them, so that's why we're here. Food pods, tap houses like mine create jobs, accessibility, they support entrepreneurs. They are a valuable asset to Tigard. Without the support of the city and a streamlined process, we are struggling to continue our build and continue to develop this pod in our tap house. So we are just here to raise concerns. There's other business owners that are finding themselves in the exact same situation, and cart owners. And so that's why we're here. We want a solution. We want the city to help us. Our businesses depend on it. I know you guys got the letter that was signed by multiple pod owners and other food truck that I submitted. So I just appreciate you guys reading that and just helping us find a path that we can still move forward. We've got a lot invested, and we don't want to see it all go to waste. So something that we can still be grandfathered in based on what we've already put in, utilities, things like that. We're not asking for anything unreasonable. So just thank you for your time, and thank you to the commitment to the city and helping us move forward.
Thank you, Jenny. Koksal Eksiki?
Correct, that's me. Is it okay if I give my 2 minutes to Mr. George Miller?
If that's what you'd like to do, you're welcome to do so.
I only have one more comment. Please don't send us back to the planning department or the planning commission. When we found out these rules come out at the end of February, we were stopped dead in our tracks. And we're right in the middle trying to develop the pod, trying to build the tap house, and it's all been stopped for a month and a half. And right now, we're just, Ollie doesn't know what to do. Does he stick with us? Does he go find another pod? We can't bring in more carts. We don't know what to do. So please give us a solution. Don't keep sending us around the course. That's it.
Last word, I have faith on you guys. I'm sure you guys are going to make it better for our community and for our city of Tigard. And I appreciate for your time and giving us a chance to express our feelings. Thank you.
Thank you.
30 seconds, I could have done that.
Denise Scheffler? Oh, if you want to turn your microphone on and let
I
us know
there?
your city of residence.
We have we have Broadway Furniture over here on Tigard, and we are also trying to do the food cart pod thing. And two things that I want to ask is if there is a way to reduce the system development charges. Portland only charges approximately $5,000 per pod, not per cart, per pod, for those development, the cost. And that's what Portland does. And then also another thing is in Sherwood, they allow more carts than just 3. A lot of these places go more than 3. And we would like to have you consider more. 3 is not a lot. Maybe like 6, up to 6 maybe? I don't know. We're just looking to talk to you so that we can move forwards, because all of us have spent a lot of money and we are all in a pickle. So we're looking for help.
Thank you. Ken Schleifer?
Hi, I'm Ken Schleifer. This is my wife, Denise, by the way. No, I'm fine. I do this all day long. So I have a store called Broadway Furniture, and we wanted to bring carts to the property because we have a lot of empty asphalt. And all we want is standardization with this whole cart business, because right now it's all over the board. Nobody knows what they're doing. Nobody has rules, regulations consistent with any other city. And we want you to act and figure out what the solution would be, the best solution, because everybody has invested tons of money. They all want to develop their property, and if they just would know what it is and have it consistently what it is in front of them, they can produce their carts. We've been on hold for almost a year because we wanted to develop it, but everything we do is changed every quarter. There's some other new regulation, or it's changed where they say we can do something, then we can't do it. So if you look at all the cities that are doing the carts, find a equal, common ground that seems to work for the city of Tigard, and just make it uniform, and everybody will know what they have to do, and then they'll do it. But right now, it changes from month to month, or whatever. Anyways, that's why we're here. And there's everybody here is from a food cart. They're all dealing with it, and they don't know what's going on, just because there's no real.
We all have the same concerns,
Yeah.
and if you would take a look at the other cities around and see what they do and how they do it and what they charge, it would be really nice.
And just
Instead of coming up with our own rules, you know?
That's all we're asking for. I think we all want to invest in Tigard. We all want to improve Tigard. We all want to bring Tigard to the times of other cities, and everybody's doing very well with these food carts, and we want to abide by the laws, but the only problem we're having is the rules are changing. Every time we try to do something, we're told we can't do it, and it's a problem. So,
Thank you, Ken.
thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
The next individual on our list is Kylie Keeley. Welcome. If you could turn on your microphone, please. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, hi, my name is Keeley. I'm new to the commission process. I've never really been to any part of this, but unfortunately, I'm not new to the permit process. 5 years ago in the city of Portland, I ended up having a heart attack, not understanding the process, just like everybody else, just kind of reacting to decisions that are made. I think it's clear to everybody that something got missed, because this conversation should have happened at the first planning meeting and throughout. And then on that day that I showed up, I was surprised not to see anybody. Nobody was notified. I was the only person here. I didn't even know what I was talking about at that time. And then once I started looking at the regulations, like, wait a minute, we're supposed to be part of this process prior to an adoption. And then there was an emergency thing added to that, and I think one of the commissioners asked about that. Well, that's supposed to be for health and for the health or the safety of the people. It wasn't meant to, like they said, because everybody was concerned. But if everybody was concerned, how come nobody was notified? That was part of what was supposed to be done for that adoption, and either it got missed or it was purposely done to keep us away from being able to sit there and finish our development. That's called retroactive application to a new zoning. We were all in development for a food cart pod, not a 3-cart deal. And unfortunately, they held us in limbo while they secretly put together a new adoption. And now we're all supposed to be held to it, and we're having this conversation retroactively, not when we were supposed to have this conversation. So I think that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you. Joshua Carreran. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having us here. As you guys know, my name is Joshua Carreon. I live in the city of Tigard. I grew up in the city of Tigard. And my brother and I were actually one of 2 concepts first chosen at Tigard's Universal Plaza. We're known as West Coast Ortho Company. In that time, we were allotted 18 months at the plaza to begin our first business and launch into a brick and mortar and to be able to expand our business. In those 18 months, we struggled to pay rent. We were forced to close several times due to lack of foot traffic, cancellations due to extreme weather conditions, and lack of programming and amenities. While we were extremely grateful for the opportunity, we were still struggling to get our venture going, our lifelong dream up and running. We're really thankful for Jenny and her husband at Love Eats Smash Burgers for the opportunity to have a job there and for this upcoming venture going on at Hudson Plaza. And we've been working diligently to relaunch and open a cart at the plaza, but these new regulations are making it even more challenging, adding yet another obstacle to our struggle to revive the business, to revive our business. Instead of supporting small businesses, these regulations are creating more hurdles, hindering our ability to operate and serve our community effectively. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I don't have anyone else on the public comment list. Would anyone else like to sign up before the opportunity is closed? Carol, is there anyone else on the list? Okay. Well, thank you everyone for being here. Oh, God, I lost my pages. The next item is phone-in public comment. Mr. Vang, are there any phone callers in the queue or anyone wishing to comment by video?
There are no callers.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vang. We will start with our community updates, and we have the Chamber Board Chair Engel to provide an update. Welcome, Mr. Engel.
I have no posse like the last group, so I think you have the update in your sheet, in your packets already. Just a few things I wanted to highlight for you. State legislature, as you probably know, 3,500 bills plus still being contemplated. My understanding is that about a good third to a half of those will not make it past the end of the week if they don't get committee.
Can you hold on a minute? I don't think we can hear you.
Okay.
Can we close the doors, Emily? Thank you to the chief who knows how to close the door. Well, if we see someone out there, we'll let him in. Okay.
All right.
Oh, no.
Oh, man. Oh, it's working, I think.
It might be a
Is this one okay?
Yeah, it's working.
Let's do that. Okay. State legislature, we're trying to keep up just like you, over 3,500 bills. A good third to a half are probably going to die at the end of this week, my understanding is, if they don't get committee hearings. We're trying to keep an eye on several things. I know public servants are trying to do their best to improve our communities. There's a few things on there. From a business perspective, we're keeping an eye on that we just strongly disagree with, even with people we like. So we just encourage, much like we saw here tonight, people to stay informed, stay engaged. These processes can move quickly, but community voices are needed. Definitely, just a reminder, a lot of the local businesses here do put a lot of money into the local economy. So with the decisions we make, the choices we make, if they're, what you're thinking of going to lunch, for example, check out a Tigard business. They would love your support. Leadership Tigard, our program, we just had our Education Day sponsored by PCC. They learned a lot about the Tigard Tualatin School District bond measure that's on the May ballot, Tigard High School and Creekside Community School tours. I'm sure many of you have been in the schools lately, but it's a good reminder that school that you went to is not like the schools we have today, the experience and everything. So I'm glad they had a chance to go ahead and do that. And we do appreciate the continued partnership. The National Civics Bee, thank you to our mayor for being one of the judges there. First place was awarded to Yervant Way of Riverdale Grade School, and the top 5 advanced to compete at the state level. That was our first attempt at this event. We're hoping to be selected next year. We were the only chamber in the state that actually, any organization that hosted the Bee. So having gone through some of those essays, it's really neat to see what is going through kids' minds and what their ideas are. The farmers market, still accepting applications and sponsorships for 2025. 51st Shining Stars, May 2nd. Definitely get tickets because they do tend to fill up quickly. Want to thank the mayor for volunteering to do the song and dance routine this year. We greatly appreciate that.
That is false advertising.
Then I guess Councilor Way is not going to come through with the backup singers for the council. Okay. Anywho, networking, just a reminder for those of you who just want to get a quick snapshot of the business community. Good Morning Tigard, 7:30 a.m. Weekly, 60-plus attendees. Ribbon cuttings and other key items coming up. Just Compassion tomorrow, 10 to 2. After hours on the 25th. Shining Stars, of course, and please keep apprised of what's going on social media as well. And I'm hoping the mayor doesn't ask me about when a deadline for something is, because I still don't know. Any questions I can help with?
Any questions? Yeah, Councilor Schlack.
Not a question, but I just want to say thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for Leadership Tigard. Councilor Gadusi and I are both involved with it right now, and Education Day was definitely, I heard great things about Education Day, but it was absolutely phenomenal to see all the different sort of vocational training that we have in Tigard High School, at Creekside, and at PCC. So thank you for putting that on. It's been very educational.
Yeah, it's been a good 5 years since I've done it, and it's just a reminder how much amazing work is done, sometimes very quietly, right next to us all the time. And I put those present here among those as well. We know how hard you work and how much you care and how much you're trying to make things better. So just a good reminder, and thank you, Councilor Schlack.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next item is the report out from our Tigard High School envoy with Maddie Vogel. Welcome, Maddie.
Hello. Okay. March update. So wrapping up with quarter 3, we will be ending that the week after spring break, and spring break is next week. Continuing with the Tigard High School vision for student success, all students will be choice ready. We've been focusing on that, especially as seniors are coming to a close. Going with our new school motto, we care, we seek knowledge, we never give up, especially in the times of sports. That's really important to us, and we've been putting that on cards and t-shirts and really advertising that. We had a lot of big weeks in the last few months. So we had Kindness Week, Wellness Week, and Unity Week. So 2 of which are put on by our Stop Tigard Underage Drinking and Drugs Club, and then we have our Unity Week put on by our Human Rights Committee. But all were really, really important. There's lots of details of that I won't go into, but I picked like some of my favorite parts of them. So Unity Week ended with our Multicultural Assembly, which is kind of just a celebration of our affinity groups, and it ended with a dance party from Mecha, which was my favorite part. Everybody in the crowd got to dance, so it was very fun. And then our Kindness and Wellness Weeks wrapped up with a hope rally out in Durham, so everybody driving by could get nice messages of hope from all the students. I liked that. As for grade levels, seniors are working on senior sweatshirts and doing some stuff with senior pranks and senior skip day, not affiliated with leadership. The prom is in full swing for the juniors, so they're planning that. They attended the location of it out in Hillsborough. We really like it this year. And deciding on a theme, I'm Team Great Gatsby, but we'll see where that ends up. Sophomores are working on creating a THS review panel, which I think will actually take place in the fall of next year, but we're doing the logistics of that now. So we picked we're working on collaboration and feedback and how we take that as leadership students, and so that's a big part of that. And we actually got really good feedback on that idea from some local Three Rivers League leaders today, so that was great. And then the freshmen are working with the sophomores on that, as well as a leadership corner in our quarterly sports booklets that are printed. So then we kind of get a highlight of what we're doing as well. Leadership events, elections are happening. So we just elected a new vice president and president. We have those contacts, and we are doing committee chairs this week. Our activities committee assisted with planning games for a Three Rivers League conference that we held today at our school. So we've been trying to do once a quarter, or at least twice a year, all of the leadership groups from the Three Rivers League come together for a morning and just talk about what we're doing. We did one in November, then we did one this morning. So activities plan some games. We're doing a spring class picnic and a Tigard Coffee House. And then Assemblies is doing prom assembly. Communications is doing shoebox advice boxes, which we're actually getting pretty good feedback on in the library. And Clubs is doing meeting with club presidents monthly and doing club meetings kind of wrapping up at the end of the year, getting our roster ready for next year. HR RAC, which I don't know if I ever go over what that stands for. I just say it out of habit, but that's human rights, not what we typically stand HR for. And then RAC is random acts of kindness. So it's anyway. Human rights is doing Rock Your Socks, a lesson with Down syndrome awareness that will be happening this Friday. And Spirit has been working on trading cards for spring sports and a spring sports schedule. Sports, not a big update since spring sports started yesterday. We had a jamboree for both baseball and softball, tennis matches, golf matches, things like that. But very exciting, and I always love spring sports because the weather's getting nice, we can go watch. And our softball team's really great this year, so I recommend going. And most importantly, our dance team's heading to nationals on Thursday. So we have a national send-off tomorrow if anybody wants to be there. It's 7:30 in our big gym. And they also had Night of Dance last Friday, which was very successful. So we're definitely giving them all the spirit and all the help. Arts and Affinities, roundtable meetings are happening through the end of the year. We're planning multicultural night. That's always one of my favorite events. I believe it's happening in May, and we don't have a date set yet, but when we do, I'll come back with that. And NHS and Service Club applications are opening, and we have a ton of applicants for NHS, too many actually, but that makes me happy that we're a very service-focused school, which is great. And then Spring Musical wrapped up this last weekend, and we'll be doing the children's play coming a little bit later in the spring, so keep an eye out for that. That's it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have any additional questions? Okay. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. It feels like the end of the school year is going to be here before we know it. That feels crazy. The next item on our agenda is the police chief and department update. Welcome, Chief McDonald.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Wow, that's really small up there. I apologize. I didn't realize it was going to be that small. But I'm going to hit just quickly on the February statistics for the police strategic dashboard. I guess the main thing to note is that if you take a look at the top line items for person crimes and property crimes, so far this year we're trending down. Person crimes are down year to date over 20%, and property crimes are down about 7%. That's a good thing. We like to see that. Last 2 years really trended up rather significantly, so it is nice to see them leveling off at least a bit. I wanted to hit a few other things because there have been a couple of things of note over the last couple of weeks. Most notably, I wanted to mention the two most recent incidents at our Tesla dealership in town. We had someone drive by and shoot at the dealership 2 separate times over the last 2 weeks. In the most recent one, last early Thursday morning, they actually had a security guard on site who was actually literally in the line of fire when the individual shot at the dealership. And so far, there's been at least 13 vehicles damaged in these incidents and over $200,000 in damage. But most importantly is the fact that there was a person directly in the line of fire there. And I suppose it's important to note that maybe unlike some 9-to-5 businesses, we found out that there's actually people that are there late at night or very early in the morning because that's what they need to do in order to get people's vehicles back to them if they're being repaired or something like that. So it is of high concern for us, for sure. And it is an active investigation. Our detectives are working on it, and we've got some of our federal partners that are also assisting with that investigation. And then I also wanted to provide a little bit of an update on deflection. So that was a topic that came up last year as the state changed the law in terms of controlled substances or narcotics. And the legislature passed a law that took effect September 1st that talks about unclassified misdemeanor for possession of a controlled substance. So last week I was at a meeting where the district attorney's office gave an update on the deflection program countywide. And so it's, and I think it's important to talk about the fact that the Criminal Justice Commission is really starting to look at Washington County's model or our program as a model that other counties in the state should be taking a look at. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with the numbers of individuals, but the process in which Washington County addresses people that are challenged with addiction. And so I'll just hit some stats really quickly. There have been 77 cases. This was from September 1st through the 25th of February. 77 cases that have qualified for the deflection program, right? Meaning that they actually had the full qualification where it was only a possession charge where there wasn't anything else, and then there weren't any disqualifying factors. Because what I found out is that there are a lot, in fact, 274 cases that have been referred, but there was some sort of disqualifying factor, right? And a variety of things could disqualify someone. They may be already on supervision with parole and probation. They have a past violent criminal history that would exclude them from the program, and things like that. They actually have 33 currently active in the deflection program, 5 that are waiting to get into the program because there's a capacity that they're trying to continue to build. And they have 6 completed deflections, meaning that they've finished what the provisions were as a part of their deflection, which is pretty remarkable considering this just started September 1st, right? They have 6 that are completed, meaning that the cases have been dropped and expunged from their records. So it's a slow burn to get it going, but it is starting to move forward. Just so that you're aware, so through March 12th, from the beginning of this, Tigard has had 64 of the cases of the possession of a controlled substance, sorry, I get tongue-tied, that we felt would qualify, and 26 of those have actually been referred into the program. So, but then they don't drill it down any tighter, because you could maybe then start to figure out who people are. And the idea is that the individuals that are entered into the deflection program, that they have the ability to be able to try and do that somewhat anonymously, so that they can continue to be successful with that program. So it was really good info from the district attorney's office to hear some of those things as the program really starts to get its legs under it, and start to see that actually we already have 6 successes out of the program so far, which is really encouraging considering it's only, just really 6 months of time that we've seen to be able to get it going. So they seem encouraged by it, as well as the state also feels that that Washington County is doing some great things. And then, as you know, we had last Saturday, we had the kickoff meeting with the community to talk about the facilities project for the Police and Public Works facility. And it was really neat to talk with the community, have an opportunity to answer their questions, interact with them, and let them go through both the Police and Public Works facilities, so they could kind of put some vision to some of the things that we have been talking about, and that we'll continue to talk about as we move forward with plans to talk to the voters about a facility at some point in the future. So that felt very successful, and I think it gave us some good ideas about how to move forward with that initiative as well. So be happy to answer any questions on any of the things that I brought up tonight. I know there was a bunch of them in a quick way, but I felt there was several things that was of interest to council tonight.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilor Hu?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief. I remember when we first talked about the deflection program, you mentioned that for Tigard, we should have about 2 navigator positions. Is that what we have now, or is that working out well? Or
I think it's hard to tell. I actually feel like our numbers probably wouldn't support that at this point. The fact that we've had 64 cases is not near as many as I think would support having a couple of navigators in Tigard. Now, that may change as time goes on, especially one of the things that we've been faced with is we have a lot of our officers that were hired when effectively drugs were a violation, or almost legal, right? And we've had to go through a retraining process with a lot of our officers, because some of them came to work after ballot measure 110 was enacted as law. And so it's a retraining tool for us to be able to go back and train them in this. So there may be more cases. The problem with people using drugs is not going away. People that have challenges with addiction, it's still there. But I do feel like what we have as a county is actually working well. So I haven't identified there being any holes in it for Tigard specifically. That was something that we talked about that I think we all expressed some concern with, and I don't see that as being an issue at this point.
Thank you. Good to hear, and I hope we don't need more navigators. And you also mentioned there seems to be some bottleneck issues with people getting treatment. So, my understanding is that the CAT center or the county's treatment center will open early next year. Do you think that will alleviate the bottleneck issue, or that's not related?
To a degree, well, it'll help people that may not have contact with the criminal justice system. So the CAT will work in a little bit different way. It can be associated with criminal justice system, but it could be someone who's just seeking out treatment themselves. When it comes to the deflection piece, it really has taken the community providers that the county has hired, making sure they have the right people on board. I heard from a gentleman on Thursday who presented with the district attorney's office, who is the executive director of the nonprofit that the county is working with. Fantastic gentleman who talked about some of the challenges that they have in finding the right people to be the navigators. And that's a really critical part of the program, is finding the right people to do it, because without the right people, then the people that are suffering with that cycle of addiction, it's harder for them to break it. He's a recovering addict himself, and it was really compelling to listen to him and explain it. So I feel like they're headed really in the right direction. So I think that the bottleneck piece is more of a timing piece with the system itself, rather than it being an obstacle or a barrier for people getting into the system.
Thank you. Very helpful.
Yep.
Any additional questions? Councilor Schleck?
I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you, Chief, and thank the entire team for the Building a Better Tigard event this past weekend. I attended, like most of my colleagues, and the room was packed. There were a lot of great questions, a lot of great information provided, and I sensed just a lot of goodwill in the room. I felt like a lot of questions that came up, none of them seemed to come from a place of hostility. They came from a really great sort of place of seeking to understand, which I really appreciated from the community members who were there. And I look forward to seeing how this project progresses.
I agree, thank you. And I think, as we continue to move forward, it's that important piece of making sure that our voters and the community members are as informed as possible if they need to go and vote on something, so that they have the information they need to make the choice that they feel is appropriate.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The next item is council liaison reports. Is anyone itching to go first? Oh, Council President Wolf, thank you for volunteering.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two meetings to report on. I attended my last Community Development Block Grant meeting, the finalization of the recommended grants that will go to the commissioners for final approval, and then Councilor Shaw will assume my position. But in total, their proposed awards for those that are ongoing, as well as new ones that we just recommended this cycle, is about $2.5 million, with remaining $88,000 in reserves. So that will move forward. Just rich conversation, great opportunities for our communities in social services. And then the second thing I attended, I am covering the West Side Economic Alliance on behalf of the mayor, and I attended the subcommittee meeting on housing. And what was interesting is HBA presented their legislative agenda, and one of their advocacy pieces is to see developments moving more quickly. And of course, River Terrace 2.0 was part of that component of just wanting to see that development move forward and their support for that. So that's it for me. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks. Anyone want to go next?
Thank you, Mayor. I was able to attend 2 meetings that were part of my purview. The first one being the National League of Cities. And just to report out, we were there on behalf of the Oregon League of Cities, and then, of course, it was the National League of Cities Congressional Cities meeting. Unfortunately, part of the conference we could not attend just because we had to be up on the Hill to meet with our congressional members. So we did meet with specifically Congresswoman Salinas, and we did talk about maintaining our federal infrastructure funding for all our communities, closing the digital divide, which still is it's a thing in Oregon, protecting our local tax and our finance tools, which of course is our tax-exempt municipal bonds, which is very important to cities such as Tigard, and then also the FEMA's biological opinion on Oregon communities, and happy if anyone's interested offline to talk about that. And in addition with the National League of Cities, where a whole host of us got together to talk about really strengthening the local federal partnerships, avoiding unfunded mandates, safeguard of local authority, and a whole host of other issues, from promoting public safety and ensuring that there's community resilience. So again, that both from emergency perspective, but also potentially as we see some unfortunate climate experiences, that those are mitigated. And then I also had the opportunity to attend the Tigard Transportation Committee, and well attended, and also Councilor Schlack was in attendance as the alternate, and we talked about our neighborhood calming traffic on our local streets. The city had received 371 responses about just how are we going to ensure that our streets have lower reduced speeds, and that could be done by a number of different ways. And there were questions about what difference between speed humps and bumps and cushions and other mitigation of reducing speed on our roadways. And then we also discussed the Safe Street Action Plan survey, which of course is now closed, but again, just talking about road calming. Then we also talked about railroad crossing, and I didn't realize there were 9 locations in Tigard. So I thought there had been 7, but there are 9, and just talked about what opportunities there are in the future. There's an example of our fellow City Bend that received $32 million for an overpass over one of their crossing, so that's something we'll be looking at in the future. And then there was also an update on the parking enforcement, which of course came before the council a couple weeks ago. And then also just mentioning the Southwest Murdoch Street. There was a delay due to some utilities lines that were not where originally they had anticipated they were going to be, but that work should be starting in May. And that is the end of my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, and thank you for attending NLC on behalf of the city. Councilor Hu?
Thank you, Mayor. I was waiting for Councilor Schlack to go first so he can report on the TIF grant subcommittee, but I can do that. So we are co-liaison, well, actually co-members, and we continue to discuss refinement of the application process for TIF grant fund, development assistance fund. That's good conversation, so we can have a new one or improved one ready to go for the next fiscal year. I also attended the Town Center Advisory Commission, and the commissioner discussed their meeting with Town Center Development Agency, which is us, and the commissioners generally find that the meeting was very instructive, very helpful. They really appreciate Councilor Shah talk about key performance KPI, key performance indicator, sorry, geez. And so actually they are actually finalizing their strategic plan with those indicators in mind. So they are actually going to sort of, each commissioner actually now will go out to recruit businesses to the district. So I'm so excited. I never heard of that. So first time we actually have community member actively trying to recruit businesses into our 2 TIF districts. So it's wonderful. And they finalized the strategic plan, as I mentioned, after talking with us. And then they also updated their application for redevelopment assistance grant. We expressed some reservation about giving housing assistance, development assistance grant to temporary shelter like Just Compassion. So they actually now, the application has been updated to specifically recognize that for temporary shelter will be eligible. So the temporary shelter will receive the same amount of scoring points as housing. So, so going forward, you know, there's no ambiguity that, you know, shelter will be eligible. So that's all I have. So thank you.
Councillor Slack?
Thank you, Mayor. As Councillor Hu mentioned, I attended a meeting of the Urban Renewal Funding Selection Subcommittee on March 10th, and we continue to review grant guidelines, and we also reviewed past case studies on what has been considered eligible for these grants. Otherwise, it was a rather light month for me in terms of primary liaison meetings. So I also attended meetings of the Tigard Transportation Advisory Committee, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and Town Center Advisory Commission, just as a member of the public to see what was going on. I found them very informative, and I enjoyed that at the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, there was special guests, some geese dogs that chase Canadian geese off of park properties. And that was very fun for me to watch. So yes, that's why I attended.
Councillor Gadusi, I'm not sure if you're available to give a report or if you're prepared to, but I wanted to check.
I am. Most of it ended up being a lot of what. So we did see the geeks guys over the Parks and Rec board. We talked about the nice property. And I'm not going to give away what we talked about with the library board because they'll be coming to Kinston shortly. But just to give a preview, the discussion will be about growth. Super exciting.
Thank you. For me to report out, I attended a leadership meeting for U.S. Conference of Mayors. We had the opportunity to hear directly from some of the Trump administration officials and get some context. So if we have concerns on specific issues, we have people to reach out to. There was also a plan, and a lot of the end of the meeting really focused on America's mayors. It's one of the only bipartisan groups in America that actually continues to lobby and work in DC. And so we had some robust discussion really on how to speak out about cities' concerns for what may be happening on the federal level. So more to come on that as comments come out. For the Washington County Coordinating Committee, conversations about TV Highway, which although does not directly impact us, it probably impacts a lot of our community members who use it, and continuing to look for funding sources. Speaking of that, JPAC is actually on Thursday this week, and many conversations with the WCCC and other individuals about the potential funding that has been recommended for the RUFA. I guess, I don't know if to call it to stage one or whatever it is, the bonding scenario that we're speaking about. The recommendation is sort of to not fully fund any of the requests, but to give everybody a little bit. I express concern that that's not always the most constructive way to actually get work done. And the WCCC aligned with Mayor DeLynn and myself, and so we will be representing that opinion to JPAC Thursday morning. And we're not alone in that. You know, many individuals and groups expressed that concern. For Washington County, the meeting with the chair yesterday, she went over just continued discussions on the library and some of the polling that they went out with. And if we get information specific on the polling, I will be happy to forward that to councilors. But yeah, many more meetings this week, so can report out on them next month. Any additional questions for anyone? No? Okay. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which is used for routine items or minutes. Items may be enacted in one motion or be moved for separate discussion. Today on the consent agenda, we have a resolution for 2025 nonprofit affordable housing tax exemption applicants. Are there any questions, comments, or a motion? Yeah, Councillor Hu?
Mayor, just a little issue with the title of the resolution. On line 3, I think there's a missing by before community partners for affordable housing. So it should be operated by community partners for affordable housing. Otherwise, I have no issue. Can I just make a motion? No. Okay, so I move to approve the consent agenda and with amendment inserting the word by, so it reads operated by community partners for affordable housing, the title.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the city recorder conduct a roll call vote?
Counselor Godusi? Counselor Godusi? We can go.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Counselor Hu?
Yes.
Mayor Lube?
Yes.
Counselor Schlack?
Yes.
Counselor Shaw?
Yes.
Council President Wolf?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion is adopted by unanimous vote of the council present. The next item is a community service organization update, and we will start with Cindy Murphy from the Tigard Festival of Balloons. Welcome, Cindy. I was expecting balloon props or something.
Sorry for the last minute pass out. Thank you, everyone. Good evening, council, mayor, Mr. Drake, everybody in the room as well. Thank you for your time tonight. I represent the Tigard Festival of Balloons. My name is Cindy Murphy. I'm not sure if you guys had a chance, but last year was a big year. We celebrated 40 years. It was our big 40th. A little bit of an obnoxious poster here, but we really wanted to capitalize on kind of everything that we do. The grant funding that, the city supplies to us is critical to our success on a lot of levels, but I'm going to focus on some successes and then focus on money, if that's okay. Our event is a big community event. I hope that if you haven't been there, you've at least heard about it. We are a nonprofit ourselves. Our goal and our mission is to fundraise, find partners to help fundraise in the community. I'm really happy to report that this year, I said I wouldn't talk money, but jumped right into it, that we were able to give over $70,000 back into nonprofits, schools, working groups, clubs, organizations. These funds are critical to the success of these organizations, and I'm really proud that we get to do that. You guys are a part of that as well, so be proud. The theme last year was Rising Together, 40 years of community and tradition. That word tradition, you guys, this will be 19 years I've been doing this, and this has become tradition. Family, my grandma, I grew up coming here. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. It's fantastic. It's a great event to be a part of. This year, we were able to partially get balloons up. We had Friday and Saturday morning launches. Unfortunately, the weather did not cooperate Sunday morning. We didn't get to play with them. Night Glow, we had some unfortunate on Saturday night. We had Remax that was able to independently inflate. Friday night, we were able to get more up, but unfortunately, just the weather impacts a lot of our programming, and we experienced that this year. It didn't stop the party, don't worry, we still had fun. Things this year, I kind of took a step back and went down memory lane and said, I really miss that eating contest. So we brought back the eating contest in a little bit different format this year and went with ice cream. We partnered with 31 Flavors, and we brought, if you weren't down there, God, was it a good time. We brought I had a video for you guys. The 31 Flavors mascot, we had the kids, we had the adults. It was just a good time. Just another, tradition. I bring that word back. It used to be ribs and it used to be other things, but ice cream is good too. So just bringing back that contest. A new tradition, though, when I talk about the word tradition, I wanted to start some new traditions this year. How can we engage our community a little bit more? One of the things that we did this year is a national anthem contest. We promoted it on social media and said, hey, really informal, everybody loves selfies, take a video of yourself. We got the bathroom, we got the kitchen, we got a hallway, I think, just somebody snuck one in a car and took a video of you singing it, and we actually had a contest, and so they came down and did the national anthem each morning. It was great. The lady was in tears. She says, this is a dream, just to be able to sing in a crowd and at an event, again, that I've been coming here as a kid. Again, the word tradition. So now she sang at it. I can't tell you. It's just another thing that we've started, so another tradition I'm really excited about. One of the pieces that I passed out to you guys was the admissions scholarship. This is new this year. I was really excited about this. You see the responses from people in front of you. I'm not going to go through them. We had 18 or 19, I apologize, entries. We had a grand prize winner that they had more than the allotted 4, so we gave out 5 tickets, but I went a step further and gave every entrance at least 2 tickets. I was very fortunate that, I don't know, timing, I happened to be at the gate on at least 4 of these people arriving, and you guys, this was fantastic that we did this. Just the opportunity that you'll see a couple of these people were just 2 people, so it worked out in their favor that they actually won the grand prize. They told me, I said, you did. So they got to experience the Balloon Festival, whether the first time or whether it was a tough year for them, it didn't matter. Everybody got the opportunity. So I'll share those with you guys that you can read at your own time if you choose. The second piece that I passed out to you guys, I am super proud of this. I'm not sure if you've followed my journey over the last few years, but medically I've gone through some transitions. So I took my lens back over the last few years and realized that we can do better. And so I've challenged myself in some areas, and ADA was one of them. So the picture that you guys have there, it's really hard to explain, but that's our launch field and the Night Glow field. We invested in cones, as you can see, and we've lined the launch field where people don't have to get out of their car to experience this event now, with the fact of just the balloons. So if you can see, I positioned myself like I was a vehicle, and this is the show that they can see now without physically having to get out of the car and get out. You guys, it was fantastic. Great. I'm looking to build that. So we basically line all of those, well, we don't do the all, but a large portion of it around the baseball field and then shoot down the parking lot. It's fabulous. So I'm really excited about that. We actually have used some of these codes for some of the City of Tigard events as well to enhance the ADA, because it is important. So I'm really proud of that piece that we brought in. You guys, let me go back 7 years. If you've been to the Balloon Festival at Night Glow, God, it's inspiring. You get your pictures and everybody's got their cameras, you're bumping up. We bump into each other occasionally. 7 years ago, we had a couple bump into each other. They didn't know each other. Well, they exchanged phone numbers and they started dating. Well, things got serious, life went on. He had to go away to the military. I got a phone call about 5 months before the event. Hey, can you help me? You guys, we had a marriage proposal. He flew into town. The whole family showed up for Night Glow. They didn't even know he was in town, and he proposed to her at Night Glow 7 years later. Tradition, you guys. We are a part of families. We also had a birth down there this year on Thursday night. I don't know if anyone knew that, but there was a birth. So we are a part of family. Real quick, just wanted to highlight, this was probably one of our better attended media years. We had everybody. You guys, everybody. We actually engaged the Latino TV Jam as well. We had a new audience. We're looking to enhance that for next year as well, but we just had everybody. It was a great turnout from the media as well. Kind of a goofy stat that I just want to pass on. This is a really goofy one, but Melissa, if you guys know her, she's been working the event for years, very into Snapchat. I'm not. I'm going to date myself here. We created 2 Snapchats. This is just a fun fact. We had 6,151 people save it to their favorites. 27,315 times that picture was used. Wow. So we're going to enhance Snapchat next year, but that just floored me. A couple of just, talking about financials. Like I said, this money is huge, you guys, to us. Our expenses have increased 19%. And when I say they've increased, we're talking, $250,000. We don't have a small budget that we operate with. Safety's number one. That my operations budget continues to go up. But some of the variances that I just wanted to point out this year that I think industry-wide, not just the Balloon Festival, our admissions was down 9.23%. Parking was down 8.4%. Carnival was down 13.62%. So I really rely on our foot traffic, right? So your guys' money is really critical to our success, especially as we go through what I'm seeing in the economy as some challenges. We're going to continue with our scholarships, and we're going to continue to the things that we're doing. But we're looking at creative ways to, enhance the marketing, and get the word out and things like that. So I'm really excited about this year. Some of the categories were up. We had vendors were up 21%, which is great. Our sponsorship was up. That's a little bit misleading because in working with the previous city manager, the grant cycle funding, we finally caught up to it because when previous years, we were awarded the money, and then we're supposed to hold on to it and apply it to the next year. Well, that's what we've been doing. So we actually applied the money that we've been holding and the money we got this year. So our money, our sponsorship money was way up, but that's very misleading. So it kind of offset some of these downs, but it is a little bit misleading, but we did catch up. It was nice. I'm really excited. The last thing I want to, before I'll go at Q&A, is to actually unveil our new poster for this year. It's not the official poster, and it's also our theme as well. It's not the official poster because all the sponsors aren't on the bottom, so I do want that notice, but I talk about the trifactor. We can't do this without 3 people. It's the Balloon Festival, obviously management, it's the City of Tigard, and it's the school district. So as I unveil this, those were the 3 people that we've actually got on the bottom. This year's theme is Ignite the Fun. So a little bit less crazy than my last year, but we're going to ignite the fun this year, you guys. So I actually have, this is not the heavyweight poster, but I have poster copies for each of you at the table here and a couple extras in the room as we're just gearing up for this next year. Last year was amazing, you guys. The city turned up, the community, everything. I'm really looking forward to next year, and I just want to say thank you personally, thank you from the Balloon Festival, and thank you from the community for everything that you guys do, just not financially, but, Chief, thank you, Chief. I don't know if you hear me over there, but, police, fire, public works, streets, everybody. This is a teamwork, this event. It's a big event, and we represent Tigard, and I want to say thank you, guys. Thank you. Questions?
Yeah, Council President Wall.
Oh, thanks. Actually, Cindy, I don't have a question. I just wanted to say thank you back. I know you're grounded in tradition, but I so appreciate hearing how you continue to think, how do we make this more accessible and inclusive, and whether that's scholarships or, accessibility here. I think that's fantastic. So just really appreciate you in constant improvement mode. And I love the poster. I think that kind of focus on Ignite the Fun, well done. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Shaw.
Thank you, and it's just such a fantastic event with the tradition. And one thing that's also in conjunction is the car show. And I know that it reaches a large part of our community. They can come down, bring their cars, and showcase them on that Sunday. And so just want to highlight, too, that that's another opportunity to partner. And you've all done such a fantastic job. And I was fortunate for the first time in 5 years to actually be up in a balloon. And I'm afraid of heights, but I have to say it's the only place I was not scared it was in the balloon that high up. So just a magical experience to see Tigard from that many feet up in the air. And just thank you for all your efforts, and also ditto with Council President Wolf's comments about ensuring that this is increasing access to those who may not be as mobile. So thank you very much.
Absolutely, thank you.
Counselor Hu?
Thank you, Mayor, and just want to echo the councilor's sentiment and thank you, and for creating this event that's where a community can get together. And also another thing about gathering places for the chamber members. The first morning of the event is always multi-chamber gathering, and it's people from as far as Seaside and Lincoln City. They came, and so it's such a great gathering place. And this year, actually, I talked to members from the Taiwanese Chamber of Commerce, and for the very first time, they're very interested in coming. So again, a place for creating diversity. So thank you very much. And I know the national anthem thing, maybe another chance for the mayor for sing and dance. So,
We got you, Mayor, we got you.
I cannot sing, so please stop volunteering me.
People might want to see that.
I want to say thank you, actually, both of you guys. I didn't highlight all of the different programming, obviously, that we have going on. I could have talked for an hour, and I knew that I had 5 minutes, but you are exactly right. I really pride myself on, I challenged myself to grow the networking event. It is a very unique event. We offer, free entrance basically for that morning, and hopefully you get a free show and come down and network. But, I want it to be the biggest in the state, and really it's just an opportunity to network, and we happen to have beautiful balloons. So I'm really proud of that. The car show, it's been an amazing landmark. Ford is Mustang Wranglers, they've all been great partners. We average over 200 cars. If you guys haven't come down, it's a fun day. Fun day.
Any additional questions or comments? I just thank you for continuing to provide such a pivotal event for our community. I think when you talk to Tigard community members about what they love most about Tigard, over and over, it's the community events that resonates with them most. And it is the Festival of Balloons. And we know that in the region, people come to Tigard for this event and for the tradition and history. And heights are not the greatest thing, but there is something so peaceful and magical, and it is so cool. I love walking around in the morning and just seeing how excited everyone is to be there. So thank you. Thank you for continuing to have this event in Tigard.
Thank you for allowing us to have it in Tigard.
Well, thank you for being here. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
The next community service organization update we have is with Interim Director Ken Karen, representing Love Inc. Welcome, Ken.
I have the privilege of being able to say I'm no longer interim director, and so I was elected that position in August to be the executive director for Love Inc. I've had the privilege of working for Love Inc. for over 8 years, and the stories I can tell you of the people in the community that we've had the opportunity and privilege to hear their story and to come alongside them. Our mission at Love Inc. Is to assist individuals facing hardship in avoiding homelessness and to support those transitioning out of homelessness towards stability. We provide essential resources, education referrals to help clients navigate crises, enable them to manage rent bills, and work towards a more secure future. This is accomplished by uniting churches and community partners together. We believe that everyone has a story, and their story deserves to be heard. I want to repeat that because it's really taken on a lot of meaning, not only for me personally, but for our volunteers in our office. This is we believe that everyone has a story, and their story deserves to be heard. There's something that goes on in that moment when a person is sharing about their life, sharing about what is going on and the struggles that they are facing, and being able to know that the person on the other end isn't just trying to check off boxes, trying to walk through an application process, but really trying to hear them and to connect with them on that personal level. That's the one piece for us that we feel is very different from any other nonprofit that's out there, any other social service agency. Last year, sorry I'm talking fast, I'm not a public speaker, so forgive me. Last year, we helped a record number of new clients, just new clients coming into the year, and that was all accomplished by our volunteers. We have 28 volunteers from over 17 different churches in the Tigard, Tualatin, and Sherwood areas. They volunteer their time. They volunteer over 2,000 hours to come in and to listen and to help and to come alongside people who are in the midst of their crisis. I can't say enough about them. I can't say enough about our church partners. We have several that are in the Tigard area. Rise Church is one. Grace Point Community Church is another. Faith Journey is another. Northwest Christian Church is another. All of them are not large churches. All of them have their own individual moments. But together, we work to try and provide resources that each one separate could not do. Love Inc. is if you think of a wheel, Love Inc. is that center of the wheel that not only those churches send people to, but different social service agencies as well. We're seeing a spike, a dramatic spike from the social service agencies. They've discovered us and they're sending their people to us. We're seeing a rise in the number of refugees and immigrant population from some of the social services that work with them. We are very grateful that we have a volunteer who is fluent in Spanish, is from Ecuador, and she's able to hear them and to speak with them. We've had 2 clients that are from Guatemala, but their Spanish is limited because they speak another native language from that area. And so it makes translation a little bit challenging and difficult. But at the same time, there's something, at least for me personally, when I hear her talking in Spanish to those clients, to any Hispanic-speaking clients, it is literally music to my soul, because there's just the need is so great, and to be able to meet a person in their own language, be able to give them that dignity that they deserve, is an incredible feat. And it's something that we are just praising God for as a Christian organization, that God has provided that resource for us. 24 was a challenging year for Love Inc. Just to be honest, we had to reduce our staffing, we had to reduce our hours, and in that, and those were done to be fiscally sound. And as I said, something incredible happened with our volunteers. They stepped into areas that we had never asked them to do, and they did so willingly. Like I said, and we were able to help more families than we had done in any of the previous years combined. The Tigard Grant has helped us through that time, through this last year, and enabled us to be able to get to a place now where we are looking towards expansion, looking towards how God is going to increase our ability to meet the needs within this community. Last year, we were able to meet over 2,220 individual needs within the community. And many of those needs would have gone unmet without Love Inc. Some of the individual families were able to stay in their homes. Rent or utilities were met because of your investment in Love Inc. When Love Inc., our church partners or agencies are not able to meet rent or utility situations, we walk the individual through the next steps in how to proceed. I've had many of these conversations. They're tough conversations because the resources are limited and they're just not there right now to totally meet the capacity of need in our community. And I walk them through how to, those hard things that nobody's telling them what to do. And we started stepping into this area. Yes, it's not meeting a physical need, but it's meeting the emotional need that these individuals have to be able to know what to do. And I could tell you all those different pieces if you'd like to know those, but it's not an easy conversation. And I try and do it with as much care and dignity as I can for those individuals. Matter of fact, This last week, I spoke with a young man who was $4,000 behind on his rent. And when I told him, okay, if you're able to find those resources, and I don't know where you're gonna find those, and again, I hate saying that, it's just the hard reality. I said, these are the things. You know, don't look at getting a storage unit for your belongings, because most of the time, they end up not being able to afford the storage unit, and then they lose all those things, and they've wasted the money on that storage unit. Find the things that they cherish the most, put those in their car, and then I also give them locations of where that they can try and get on waiting lists for. Most of those conversations, they are incredibly grateful for hearing this information. 'Cause like I said, nobody's telling them that, and we at least are trying to step into that field where we're able to meet that emotional need where we can't meet the physical need. But I am grateful for our church partners that we're able to help in the following years with diapers, blankets, over-the-counter medical items, essentials. These are personal hygiene, cleaning supplies, paper products. We have a newer area that one of our churches stepped into. We call it personal care. And this is Depends, this is bed pads, this is personal disposable washcloths, because we've discovered that several of our elderly clients were needing these things. And when we communicated this to one of our church partners, they just stepped right into it. One of the families, upon hearing their story, it's a immigrant family from Guatemala, different one. It seems for us, it's kind of, several have just been from Guatemala, and we're not sure why, particularly. But when she shared her story with us, they came here because her teenage son had certain medical issues, and he's disabled. And when we said, is this something that he could use? And she was incredibly grateful for that ability, because he's in a wheelchair and in special needs. And so that's an area that we've been able to help to provide dignity, not only for him and for the mother, but also several of our other elderly clients. Last client I would like to tell you about is a client we have for a while. She called in, and she needed some baby clothes and some diapers. Her and her partner suddenly had custody of their grandson. The child's mother was experiencing some personal substance struggles, and the grandma stepped in to take care of this little guy. He's the cutest thing in the world. I'm a baby guy, and he's one of those. When she came in with him, it was just an incredible sight seeing him. But it's an element where our clients come from all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of walks, all kinds of situations, and we work to come alongside them. And this is one of those circumstances where I'm happy to say that this client is somebody that I can call a friend, that probably not long ago would not have trusted any kind of organization like ours. So on behalf of Love Inc.'s 240 plus clients, on behalf of our 28 volunteers, as I said, who've given over 2,000 hours, I just want to say thank you for your support. The City of Tigard has been a long time supporter of Love Inc. Over the years, and without your support, 24 would have potentially been a last year for Love Inc. But with your assistance, you've helped carry us through, and we are poised to go where we haven't been before. And so I just want to thank you on behalf of all of them. This has nothing to do with this. I'm a softball dad, and so when the young lady was talking about the softball team at Tigard High School, softball's a different game than baseball. If you haven't been, Tigard has some really good games, some really good players. And so on behalf of those young ladies, you just gotta go. I don't know if they play small ball or not, but it's a different game. And if you don't know it, why did they do that? Ask another dad that's there, another mom that's there. They will tell you. It is an incredible sport. Stepping off of that softball aspect, I make myself available for any questions that you may have.
Are questions? Thank you so much for being here and help giving us perspective and a story along with the dollars that our community is reinvesting back into the community. We appreciate you bringing light to those stories.
Thank you. My pleasure. Right.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the mayor and council budget discussion. And we have Deputy City Manager Trich and Finance Director Kang here to introduce that item. Welcome.
Good evening, Council. Deputy City Manager Trich, joined this evening by...
Good evening, Mayor and Council, Finance Director Eric Kang.
We're pleased to be with you this evening. I also want to recognize our facilities teammates who might be fixing the door while we talk. And so I'm inviting them to do so. I hope it won't be an interruption, more than it has been. Thank you. We wanted to give you an update on some of our budget process in the works now. Thanks to prior city leadership, our thoughtful financial planning and conservative approach to spending, we are in a better position than some of our neighboring jurisdictions who are faced with funding shortfalls in the millions of dollars. During the last fiscal year's budget process, a deficit budget was adopted with the expectation that with vacancy savings forecast at 10%, it would result in a balanced budget in the out years. But based on trends today, such as a tightening labor market with less vacant positions, declining in flat revenues, and increasing costs due to inflation over the past several years, we're forecasting that 10% vacancy savings should be reduced to at least 7%. While we are forecasting a deficit budget, we are not in a crisis situation like some of our neighbors. However, we are at a critical point where planning for the future is served by tightening our belts and looking for reductions to weather uncertainty. Our future financial forecasts show that were we to continue apace with current spending and growth, our costs would continue to exceed our revenues over the next 5 years by approximately $5 million per year, or about 10% of the general fund. With the combination of forecasting a 7% vacancy rate and a 3% reduction to programming and spending, the city can achieve a balanced budget. We prioritize city funding by first addressing mandates and required service levels. We protect our filled positions and we seek to maintain our current service levels in operations. When looking to reduce costs, we look first at reductions that would not have an impact on the excellent services our community enjoys. We have asked all City of Tigard departments and divisions to review their programs and budget requests from the general fund for fiscal year 26 and identify opportunities to rescope or reprioritize requests to respond to a more constrained funding outlook in the upcoming fiscal year. All divisions were asked to develop 2 scenarios, one identifying a 3% reduction in general fund utilization and another with a 5% reduction. These scenarios will be discussed with Budget Committee and may or may not move forward. Proposed reductions do not necessarily mean that the funding will be reduced. Conversations will continue April 26th at the budget meeting and thereafter. We're asking this evening for City Council to review the Mayor-Council budget for fiscal year 26 and identify a 3% and possibly a 5% reduction in costs. Recommendations will be brought forward to Budget Committee for discussion together with reductions identified by every other department and division as well. I wanted to flag for you one correction to the data that was provided in advance and attached to this meeting. In the attachment to the agenda, the discretionary budget items included a mayor's innovation project at a cost of $10,000 in fiscal year 26, and that was an error made by the team. It should be $2,500. With that modification, a 3% reduction in this budget would be $17,051. A 5% reduction is valued at $28,418. Finance Director King and I are happy to answer any questions you have, and we look forward to a discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you bringing this forward. I have to say this is the first time in 6 years that it's ever actually come to us for a discussion. I think the city manager or the team sort of took care of it and passed it along. So appreciate the opportunity to have this discussion. I have another correction that I see that I don't think it was a mistake, like having the incorrect dues and subscription amount, but the $25,000 line for consulting services for city council goal setting and facilitation, we only do that every other year. So I don't think that we need that entire budget, but I would say potentially maybe $5,000 for something that may pop up throughout the year that we may use those individuals' services on. Or maybe just a much shorter refresh and check-in. But I don't think that we need the full-blown multi-day session because we won't be setting goals again. So I think just with that, between the 7,500 and the 20,000, that you've almost got your 28,000 at least right there.
You are correct, Mayor. There's, with those two updates, there's a $600 difference.
Yeah. So
congratulations.
I do math for a living, but I'm sure there's additional things that individuals want to discuss. So, questions? Yeah, Councilor Shaw.
Great. Just an initial question, then I have some thoughts when we have further discussion. But I noticed that with line, I'm not sure if it's a line, but for sending the TIAC members to, and it is the National League of Oregon Cities at $10,500, and then if you go down further, there's another line item for $3,500, and that's for the Youth City Council training. Is that just for the youth conference, and then the $10,500 is for NLC? Because to me, those seem like duplicative items.
I think they're different people. I think they're both going to the NLC CCC, but one of them is for 2 TIAC members, and one is for the youth counselor. So it's 3 students going total, but they've broken it out into 2 lines.
Okay.
Is
It's
that
an odd way
correct?
to break it out.
Yes, I totally agreed.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I would recommend changing that then.
Yes, that's correct. And the reason why it's broken out separate that way, because it's changed over time, and so they've been added as separate line items.
Council President Wool?
So it's great to know the math works, but I did think about this because from an opportunity to look at, is there a way for us to save money? And the only other thing that I thought about is I feel, are very fortunate with our professional development budgets as individual council members. The one thing trying to think through is there's a different way to look at this, and maybe this is food for thought in the future, is I really did appreciate Councilor Shaw going to NLC. So what I wondered about is one more line item, right? But if you had, like, we want 2 counselors, or at least 1, to go to NLC, and that becomes its own thing, and then we as a collective, I know it's weird, reduce that, that 10,000, because I wouldn't want, say for example, Councilor Shaw goes, I don't think her budget should be penalized because I appreciate that she represents the city. So that becomes 1 or 2 of us go, that's a budget, but we all look at our individual budgets and could those possibly be reduced? I think historically I really appreciated seeing the data that we aren't necessarily fulfilling that, but I do think the DC trip is important. So hopefully that made sense. Thanks.
May I respond quick? Thank you very much. We're open to however it makes sense to format or communicate these budget items. We did reflect on the past few years, and recognizing also COVID times make histories difficult. But for the past 3 years, there's been a history of underspending from the council travel and training budget by 20%, which isn't to say that you should make any changes, but please feel free to learn and travel. Thank you.
Yeah, I think some of the history that I've seen is we have had a previous counselor who really loved to travel. And I think giving the individual counselors budgets refrained from counselors having to, I don't want to say duke it out, but really have an argument. And we've had it before where the entire council has gone. And I think that was a very fruitful experience. I do want to say that I really appreciate that the training budget and the travel budget, the uses have been expanded that haven't been previously. That was an advocating effort, I think, on my part to acknowledge that we also get invited to a lot of wonderful community events that easily are $150 a piece just to get in. And they are inviting us, they may like me personally as well, but they want the mayor of Tigard there. They want the city council there. And it can certainly be a hindrance to our individual councilors to be able to pay for that out of pocket, because come time, there can be like 4 a month of these events. And individuals, as soon as you come in, obviously this is your personal discretion, but they ask you about raffle tickets, they ask you how many auction items you've been on. And I think the expanded use of the budget has been really helpful, and also an opportunity for individuals to sponsor events if they want to be able to use that with their budget as long as it aligns sort of with the city values. So I want to give also a little bit of history of that I appreciate the individual budgets because I can see an allocation and people can plan. I think initially it was a plan for like being able to go to 2 trips. And no one here has done it before, I think, but there's also an opportunity if you're interested in something else. So if you're on the Parks and Rec board, there's a Parks and Rec conference you can go to and bring back information on that. So it's not just limited to NLC, just to give a little bit of history. If you find a conference, I think climate, there's a lot of really cool climate conferences that I know at least used to happen. I don't know about the future of those, but wanted to share that piece as well. But I think definitely up for continued conversations. I appreciated the questions and the additional supplemental information. Councilor Schleck. Councilor Gadusi.
Yes, I was hoping for some additional clarity on the other attachment, the historical information. Can you give additional details about the actual versus revised? So was a certain amount budgeted and only that portion spent?
So that's correct. So if you're looking at the comparison information, the attachment that's labeled Mayor and Council Budget, Travel and Training History. So the different columns that you see there, just to kind of provide an explanation. The revised budget, that is basically your final budget after any sort of supplemental for that fiscal year. So if we're looking at 2025, you'll see there's a 2025 original budget and a revised budget, and then 2025 actuals. So of that $81,750 that was budgeted, $17,182 was actually spent. And just as a reminder, this is for fiscal year 25, which we're still currently in, so there's still quite a few months left of that. And then going again to 2024, you'll see the budget was $61,850 and $34,575 was actually spent.
Thank you. I will say, I think I was looking at all of the different memberships that we belong to, and I'm going to be honest here, I had no idea that LOC was $50,000. That is a shocking price to me. And I guess looking at, I think it provides an opportunity maybe for continued conversation between our CFM that are our lobbyists, and also the value that being a part of the League of Oregon Cities brings, for maybe a longer conversation of what is the right path forward, and are we, getting our value out of being a member. I think we've talked about it a little bit before. Oregon has 251 cities, and we're all charged by population, but we all have the same vote. And so we sort of have an outsized financial impact, but the same vote. That being said, I also chair the General Policy Committee for League of Oregon Cities, and I'm a part of a group that meets during session every Thursday to talk about and give directives to League of Oregon Cities. So we do have some robust advocacy, direct advocacy, but I think we need to have more conversations about a path forward, and if that's still serving the city for that amount. Yeah. Councilor Schleck?
Thank you, Mary. Yes, and that's exactly why I wanted to know how long we had been members of some of these organizations, because some of them, you hear about on the city council, but then I paused and I really thought, well, what are we getting out of this membership on a day-to-day or month-to-month basis? And that's also why I was curious about, are there different, tier levels for subscriptions? Are there ways we could get discounts? And every single one was population, so I don't see them going down in that respect. But I really do want to welcome this opportunity to review the budget. I know, having been on the budget committee for several years, like the mayor said, this is the first time I feel like we've been given a portion of the budget to actually review line by line, figure out if it's going where we want it to go. And I support the efforts that the interim city manager started of trying to proactively trim our budgets. That way we don't get to a crisis point. You said critical point, and I think for that reason it's important that we look to be proactive. I'm the type of person where I would want to aim for a 5% reduction just as a target for sort of earmarking reductions, but I recognize that I may be on the more extreme end of the council in terms of reduction identification. But I just think it's important, if we're going to ask, across the city for a 3 to 5% reduction, that we lead by example when we're managing our own sort of budget, or at least the one that directly relates to us. So when I was looking through it, perhaps I got a little too into trying to find cost reductions, but what I would propose, just, speaking for myself, I totally agree with the reduction in consulting services for city council facilitation, especially since goal setting is not going to be involved there. I don't think we need publications for counselors based on interest. At least I had no idea that that was available. I know it's only $100, but it's a line item to remove potentially. My personal preference, if we were to keep memberships, would be really to focus on the regional and state-related ones. So when I look at National League of Cities, U.S. Conference of Mayors, and Mayors Innovation Project, those seem like really great organizations, but if we were going to remove memberships, I would prefer to keep the ones that are more regional and state-focused. That's just my preference. And then looking at the line items related to training, travel, and meals. Emily, you had mentioned, I believe it was like we were consistently around 20 or 80% of that budget gets spent. So I was going to propose a 15 or to 20% reduction in the budgeted amount, just to sort of right size based on past trends. And then finally, there's the Move with the Mayor initiative and the State of the City reception. I wasn't familiar with the Move with the Mayor initiative, so that was a candidate that I put up as potentially something we look into establishing. Has it been successful? Has it met the goals that we have? Do we want to continue this? And then State of the City is always a wonderful event, but I feel like I'm a substance person, and I think it's great to have that opportunity to talk to the community about what we're doing, but perhaps there are more cost-effective ways of doing so. So that's speaking for me. I recognize I may be more on the hard line of identifying possible cost reductions, but I wanted to put that out there.
Great, thank you. If I can tell you the impact to reduction, give me 1 minute. Or feel free to continue the conversation.
Councilor Wolf? Who? It's been a long day.
I know, we've been doing this since 8 o'clock in the morning, so it's 12 hours. So my comment, I don't think it has necessarily to do with any cutting right now, because it seems that we're okay with the adjustment. But I just want to emphasize the mayor and a couple of councilors' point of, I would really want to get a better understanding of what we or the taxpayer or the city get in return for us spending those money. Like going to conference, it's great, and I appreciate Councilor Shaw's bullet point. But just if we want to evaluate expenses for travel expenses in the future, I think we need to start collecting data on why we attend a conference. What value does it provide to the council, to the city, to the resident of Tiger? Like last year, to be honest, I went to the National League of Cities, and I didn't go again this year because, frankly, I didn't think it was worth it. Personally, I don't think it's worth it for me to go again. And I could have reported back last year, say, it's not worth it. But it's good to send maybe one of the new counselor or both new counselor who had never been to go. and or I report back, say, oh, this is interesting. I went to this conference. These are the topics, and this is something new. I'm excited. I want to share with the council, and here's the slide. So I will advocate for a way to keep track of, value, what this thing, what kind of value all these expenses provide to the city of Tigard, to the resident of Tigard, to the city council. Again, I'm not advocating right now for any reduction, but I'm just advocating that we should start thinking about better way of keeping track of what those, what value these expenses provide to the city of Tigard. So thank you.
And I really appreciate, Councilor Hu, your points there. And I was reporting on a very high level, and I thought too it needs to be more rigorous when attending conferences. And part of the value with the National League of Cities is that we get the opportunity to meet with the congressional members. I mentioned Congresswoman Salinas, but we actually met with the whole Oregon congressional delegation. Now, to the mayor's point, there is value in maybe reassessing that membership, because what we could also do is be more proactive as a city, working with our lobbying firm, and perhaps even bringing those congressional members to the city and have town halls here, as opposed to flying to Washington, D.C. and meeting with them there. So there could be an opportunity to not only reduce the National League of Cities membership, if that were something when we get to a more budget rigid perspective. And then I would also advocate then with the TIAC, because I think that's a lot of dollars that could be spent locally and on more members of TIAC, as opposed to just to flying to Washington, D.C. So if budget and we get into a crisis situation, perhaps we have to reduce more than even the 5% that we do look at those line items, and maybe even go back to TIAC and say, for that amount of money, what could you do, maybe even with half of it, for your whole TIAC community and for the community of Tigard. So that's something too. So I appreciate, Councilor Hu, you raising that. I think there's value there in numbers and advocating at the national level. But again, if we're looking and trying to be realistic and do our share in reducing dollars, that does make sense. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilor Resident Wall?
So just a couple follow-ups. So I would want to know from staff, as we look at LOC, if there's staff value in that, because being involved in the Oregon School Boards Association, a lot of the critical work around policy design or insurance, et cetera, really impacted staff. So I want to make sure that I understand completely what that membership represents. And I have mixed feelings about the youth going to DC, because what I love is that the city provides this really unique opportunity for students that may or may not. That could be the first time that they've gone, and certainly the first time to advocate at that level. And I think that is a unique thing that needs maybe a deeper conversation. And I get that it's not cheap and it's fast, but those experiences can be lifelong impacts to youth. So those are my just added thoughts. So thank you.
I guess I want to ask a question with the two changes, the changes for consulting services and the incorrect amount for one of the memberships. I mean, that gets us to the 5%. Is there a desire to cut above 5% or a desire to continue the conversation?
Pardon me, Mayor. That gets us to just about the 3%.
Oh, okay.
But for $600, so just $600 short of the 3% with those two changes that you mentioned.
You said 3% was 17,000 and 5% was 28,000, right?
Correct.
So if we go from 10,000 to 2,500, that's $7,500. And then if we reduce consulting 20,000 plus 7,500 is, $27,000.
Oh, okay.
Right? Right, 27.5.
Okay, my mistake.
Sorry. My math could be wrong, which is why I'm asking.
Your math is correct.
Okay.
That's why we have it.
Thank you.
The only thing I would point out, as far as the consulting services go, that is sorry, can't hear me. On the consulting services, that is still a biannual expense that we'll still need to factor in. So from an operating and long-term standpoint, it still doesn't really shave off a lot because you have to amortize that over 2 years, essentially.
Is that something where we should budget for 2 years over and somehow have budget savings, or a situation in which we should just know it's coming every other year and have it in the budget every other year?
I mean, that's a great question. Since we have an annual budget, we have to keep ideally we keep things smooth. And so we try to budget it every year to keep the budget smooth so that when it does come, it's not something unexpected, as long as we're on an annual budget. That's not me advocating for, there's no hidden context there.
Any additional thoughts, or Councilor Schleck?
Mayor, are you still, is your question still stand about whether the council still wants to have further discussions about this topic?
I think we want to have further discussions about the topic. I think the question is if the 27,000 we found is sufficient for the council today, and to go ahead and continue the conversations of what has value for the next budget cycle that we know we will need the additional $20,000 for consulting services, or if there is a desire to make a recommended budget above the 5% cut. We're looking for council opinion.
I was just going to say I'll probably be the lone person on this, but I'd like to have further discussion about some of these line items, considering, youth travel budgets got brought up, various memberships, and understanding the staff and council value of it. I can be sort of hardcore at these things, so I'd love to have a bit more discussion on this, but recognize I'm probably the only one.
Councilor who?
I'm fine with it right now, but I would like to continue discussion of what value this membership and travel program provide to the city. So I just want to be prepared in case we need to jump in and cut later, and we won't be surprised.
When you say jump in and cut later, are you referencing the 26 budget, which is the budget we're planning, or the 27 budget, which is a year out?
A year out.
A year out,
Yeah.
okay. Councilor Shaw?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to continue having the discussion, so if there is a reduction in budget, we can plan for 26.
On top of the 5% we've already found?
Correct.
Okay. Council President Wolf?
I would agree to that because in theory, you could almost say it's 12 and a half, not 25, if you're trying to split it on the annual. And I still think on the individual budgets, there's space there if it needed to be shaved, that they could. So I think it's an important conversation to be part of the whole staff team that's looking to reduce. So,
Councilor Gadusi, did you have anything you wanted to share?
I do want to reevaluate some of those numbers, because if we are paying for memberships that aren't worth it, I don't want to waste taxpayers' money.
Okay. Do you have any idea when you would be able to come back for additional discussion? Just so we can start to have it in mind, or maybe we'll just come back and let the council know?
Would the preference be to return at a future council meeting or at the first budget committee meeting to resume this topic?
I think probably a council meeting. The council needs to decide before it gets presented to the budget committee.
We can certainly look at some times to get that on the calendar.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Okay. The next item on the agenda is a utility billing update with Finance Director Kang.
Good evening again, Mayor and councilors. For the record, Eric Kang, Finance Director. So tonight, I'm bringing forward an update to council on the status of our utility billing implementation. In an ideal world, I wouldn't be here to talk about a system implementation, but based on the some concerns that we've heard from the community, I felt like it was important to provide an update to the council and also to the public. So to kind of give a timeline, we're about just under 6 months into our post-implementation of our utility billing system. That went live back towards the end of last October. And along the way, there's been a few bumps, and for tonight, I want to share with council and the community what took place and how we've rectified any sort of utility billing related issues, and then where things are at today. So approximately 5 weeks ago, we started receiving an unusually high volume of calls that were brought to our attention related to some billing issues. So the largest number of issues that we've heard were issues related to payments not getting deposited or credited to customer accounts. We've also had a few issues related to customers that weren't receiving bills. And then we also had a few issues related to commercial accounts where the water meters, there were some questions about some of the reads. I'm not going to go into the details of the root causes or how this has happened, but I'll definitely share some information on how we resolve the issues and provide some assurances that this won't be a continuing problem. So the first thing that we did to address this issue is we did a complete audit of our utility billing accounts. So just for a frame of reference, that is over 23,000 customer accounts. And so this meant that we looked at every water meter read manually, not relying solely on our data imports, because in order for us to efficiently process that many accounts, we do rely on imports and technology to make that happen more streamlined. But we did look at it manually, then we did compare them to historical usages to identify any sort of anomalies. This was a very time-consuming process. It did end up causing our billing cycles to run 1 to 2 weeks behind, but we felt like it was more important to take that time to analyze all those accounts before sending out another bill and potentially creating more questions. For any of the rejected payments, one of the issues that we didn't identify until after post-implementation was that customers that were not enrolled in our ACH polls on our website that had auto bill pay set up through their bank, we had an issue where if they did not update their customer accounts, their payments would get rejected. And so this ended up happening to a quite large number of customers. In the beginning, we had sent out these payments back to the payers just so they would know that they had to update their accounts, but that ended up creating more confusion. And so what we ended up doing is we started accepting the payments and giving every individual a call and let them know that they have to update their bill pay account or switch to our online bill pay system through the city's website. In addition to that, we did send out a more broader communication campaign. This included sending out an update through our website. We also sent out bill stuffers so that everyone that received a bill had an update that please go onto our website, update your bill pay account, or enroll into our auto payment system. On the issues related to some of the commercial customers, we've reviewed every single account. Everything has been updated and it is working correctly. There was sort of a system-related issue related to commercial accounts. And I won't go into technical detail. It has to do with the number of dials on their meter versus on residential, the number of dials on their meters. There was some discrepancy on that. We have a process in that we're reviewing and manually updating these on every single customer account, every single commercial customer account until until we're able to fix the system-related issue. It does include both a separate process of having a separate enterer and a reviewer, so we have the internal control in place. We did have several weeks where our call volumes and our emails far exceeded our capability to respond. And so we did have instances where our voicemail inbox were full, and then we did have customers who had received significant delays than what they would typically experience from getting responses to emails. Thankfully, I am pleased to share that as of last week, we are completely caught up on all of our emails and our voicemails. We don't have any voicemails outstanding in our inbox anymore. And I do not foresee this being an issue going forward. With that, we have resolved all of our issues related to our system implementation. Like I said, there's just one minor issue related to a system function for certain meter sizes. But all the other issues have been resolved. And lastly, I do want to close and just recognize and thank two of our employees who kind of jumped in, Jamie Greenberg and Angela Whitney. These two individuals, they have over 41 years of experience combined with the city. They don't work in utility billing. I think that's important to point out. These two individuals, they started their career in utility billing and have substantial experience, but they've moved on into other roles within the city. But they sacrificed their evenings and weekends to resolve these issues and really jumped in and to resolve these issues as quickly as possible. I also want to thank our frontline staff, our frontline utility billing teammates. They're the ones that are day in, day out in receiving and assisting customers. And I want to thank them for the resilience. I know this was a difficult time. And of course, for everyone, there was a lot of new changes, especially with the community. Not sure of what's going on with their payments. Finally, I want to thank the community members, particularly those that showed us patience and kindness and understanding as we're going through this system implementation. We completely understand the frustration and the anxiety that they feel, especially when there's a billing issue. There definitely were some lessons that we learned through this process, and I do want to reassure the community that we have responded to and fixed these issues, and that serving our customers is our #1 priority. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Finance Director Kang. I just have a question. With the billing cycles, if they were 1 to 2 weeks behind and so they got a larger bill, was that taken into consideration when you get the usage bump? So they weren't charged extra because they just had more usage from more time?
Yes, great question, Mayor. So for those customers that have experienced 1 to 2 week gaps, their meter reads were still done on the same cycle. It was just the billing, the actual function of sending the bill out was delayed.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Additional questions? All right. Thank you so much. We have a couple of non-agenda items this evening, and I will turn it over to Councilor Schleck for his first item.
Thank you, Mayor. First non-agenda item, but I just want, or ever I should say. So I would like to request that city staff develop a written policy to be adopted by council resolution that sets a clear process for the annual performance reviews and merit increases of our council-hired public officers, the city manager, city attorney, and municipal court judge. This policy should be straightforward and transparent so staff and council know what to expect. It should include clear timelines, define who is responsible for each part of the process, and apply the best practices of pay equity standards to ensure merit increases are handled fairly and equitably. I'm advocating for this policy based on my experiences since joining the council last summer. I've been part of 2 performance review cycles so far, one for our previous city manager and one for our current city attorney. I've seen how strong guidelines improve decision-making as part of my work on the city's social services, community events, and urban renewal grant programs. With a new city manager on the way, now is the right time to put this structure in place to support effective and accountable leadership for years to come. I would like to ask that staff come back with a proposal for council to review at the council business meeting on May 6, 2025 on this matter, and I welcome any discussion from the council.
Any questions or discussion? Yeah, Councilor Shaw?
Having been on now for 5 years, I think that is actually an excellent suggestion. So appreciate Councilor Schleck you bringing that up, and hopefully next time we'll thank the prior. Thank you.
I support the request.
Laura, do you have any questions or comments?
No, Mayor, I do not. Thank you for asking. I will draft a policy process and a structure. Thank you.
Thank you. I support it.
Sounds good. Did you have an additional item?
No, I do not, and I thank the council for their support on this request.
The next item, I'm not sure that I wrote them. I was feverishly trying to write them all down. Legislative testimony.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I will keep it short because it's been a long day. So recently I read our procedure for providing legislative testimony, either signed by the mayor or if mayor's unavailable by the city council president. And when I read it, it seems to me, at least personally, somewhat conflicting with our city council ground rule, specifically the current one, 1D, representing city 24/7, because the ground rule says that if a city member is representing the city, the member should support and advocate for the official position of the issue. Oops, no, that's not the one. If a member of the city council appear before any governmental agency or organization to give a statement on an issue, the member should state, among other things, whether the statement is supported by the majority of the council. So that seems to be inconsistent with our current procedure for providing legislative testimony. So I was wondering if the council, believe that this inconsistency, like I see it, or if so, would they like to revisit the procedure for providing legislative testimony, or do they want to revise the city council rules to specifically address how we should provide legislative or codify the current procedure of providing legislative testimony in the council ground rule? So that's the question I pose to the council.
I still think I'm a little potentially confused.
Okay.
I would just say, I think if you are speaking on behalf of council, that is implied. But every member of this body has an opportunity to legislatively testify. But if you're not speaking on behalf of, the council, you can say, I'm so-and-so, I'm a city council, or I'm here in my personal capacity. I'm not representing the views of Tigard.
I had experience where last year when I was the city council president, I signed a letter of support for legislation, and at the time I should have thought of more, because at the time when I signed it and it was submitted, it was a city. It has a city logo on it, and it says the city support this. So I wasn't too sure at that point whether I was speaking on behalf of the council or not. And if I was, then it's not consistent with the ground rules saying that the statement should state whether it's supported by a majority of the council. Also, the reason I asked this question is recently we were asked if we should sign on to a letter of position for electrical fence. And to me, it wasn't clear on why we are signing on to this. It's just not clear to me, which city goals or policy we're supporting by opposing the electric fence legislation. So it's just some confusion there. So I just want an opportunity. I just want to bring it before the council so we can openly discuss this. So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question on electric fences. So what happened is there is another city in the region who asked for other cities to sign on. And although it is not a specific issue for Tigard at this time, it really had sort of a home rule implication where the state legislature was mandating that cities do something that cities may not have wanted to do. And I could potentially get this wrong, so I apologize on the details. It was being able to construct electric fences even in or right next to residential areas and those sorts of things where kids can stick their hands in, and we couldn't have any rules governing those issues. So it wasn't a direct issue for Tigard at the moment, but it was an issue kind of home rule and a neighboring jurisdiction that was looking for other cities to sign on to their letter.
Oh, thank you for that. But I did read the proposed legislation, and it is a technical amendment to a already existing state law that allows electric fences. So that's why I was confused, because even if that piece of legislation did not pass, the current state law still trump our any city prohibition for electric fences. So in a way, I just feel, anyway, I just didn't have enough information. I was confused. I just didn't think that the city should have signed on to this. If that was legislation for the very first time prohibiting city from enacting rules about electric fence, I said, yeah, that this letter of position makes sense. But to me, if it's just a technical amendment to an existing state law that already allow electric fence, I just didn't understand why we signed on to it. That's why I'm just requesting a process where we have more discussion. And also, I didn't understand why sometimes this city team brought, proposed legislation in front of council, and sometimes they don't. Then they just issue a letter of support or opposition. Anyway, I don't want to just get into much detail right now because it's a long day. But I just want other city councilors' input on how best to move forward, so there's some clarity for this kind of process.
Oh, I appreciate the request for clarity. The only thing I will say is sometimes there is not sufficient time to, we literally get asked for logos that need to be turned around in an hour. So that may be some of the discrepancy. Councilor, oh my goodness, Schlack?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I totally understand and support having the mayor or the council president being able to sort of, based on staff advice, sign letters that need a quick turnaround. I think that makes total sense. But I understand where Councilor Hu is coming from. I'd love to see maybe a clearer readout, maybe at a public meeting as part of city manager report, saying the city, is already gone public saying we're supporting a piece of legislation that's before the state legislature. Here are the items that, have gone through since we last provided an update. And then I'd love to see maybe more of a direct citation of how it currently advances, maybe a council goal, a council policy, or a city policy. Like if it was electric fences, the first time that those electric fences ever came to mind while I was a city councilor was when I saw that letter. I thought, what on earth does this have to do with City of Tigard? So it would be great to have some, even if it is after the fact, some sort of citation being like, it advances reduce houselessness or modernize city services, or something that's not in the council goals but is still a council policy. So that maybe could be a solution that we could consider.
Councilor Shaw?
Very much appreciate this discussion because I too have had have not been clear about the process. And so I think we all agree having more clarity makes absolute sense, and I agree too. There are cases it could be less than an hour turnaround that staff, the mayor, the council president needs that opportunity to say yes on behalf of the city. So I too would agree with Councilor Schlack, that makes sense. And I do appreciate knowing which bills, because if we do get asked, it's helpful to know. And so I appreciate you bringing this up, Councilor Hu, and asking for clarity. And I like the idea of perhaps even without getting too long in our council city manager reports, but perhaps there is a way just to quickly tie it in, or just make it part of a report we receive, but not necessarily have to read at council.
So I get it. There's no consensus on revising either the council rule, ground rules, or legislative testimony procedure at this point, or?
Well, I think for the ground rules, if it says that you're there on behalf of council, I don't think you need to say the majority of council agrees. That's just wasting the precious 90 seconds they give us.
Okay.
I think that is implied. But I think, somewhere in the ground rules, it should say if you're there on behalf of yourself, you need to state that.
Okay, I think it says that, yeah.
I think you have to state that part of it. But if you were there and you sit down and you say, I'm Ikang Hu, I'm a Tigard City Councilor, it is implied that you were speaking on behalf of the City Council.
All right, great. All right,
Yeah.
so.
That's regular practice.
All right, I appreciate it. And another item also quickly is recently we have, not recently, we have receiving this email complaint from this judgment for the past year or two about he's frustrated with our judge's ruling, and and the mayor's absolutely right. The council has no jurisdiction over the merit of the case when not qualifying, when they have no jurisdiction. But to me, it seems like this person's complaint goes beyond just the merit, right? It has, some allegation of conduct. So I asked, if the judge is a state court judge, I asked the city attorney whether the Oregon Commission on Judicial Fitness and Disability investigate allegation against municipal judges, and thank you, she said no, so that's fine. Right now, the municipal judge is one of the 3 officers that's, that's under the council's direct supervision. So I just don't know if it's sufficient just to tell this individual to go through the proper appeal process when there's another layer of this complaint that's hanging out there. And I'm not taking sides. I talked to internal team, and there are some unofficial, I will not say investigation, but inquiry. And I'm happy that there's no substantiation for those allegations of the misconduct. But at the same time, and I'm not saying the judge is in trouble, I'm just saying at the same time, I don't think it's fair to the judge that there's still this allegation hanging out there, and there's no official channel. At least I don't think we do have an official channel of investigating allegation of our judge outside of the merit of the case, her conduct and stuff. So I was wondering, I propose, I'm not as organized as Councilor Schlack, so sorry. I'm proposing that we investigate a formal procedure for investigating this kind of conduct against our judge, allegation of conduct against our judge, because our judge is in this not weird, but in this, in this category that I don't know where to put her. It's like, we're not qualified to make legal judgments, but at the same time, she is under our direct supervision. So I think there should be some official ways to handle this kind of complaint. So.
Yeah. Interim City Manager Drake.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. If you will, let us talk internally about this, and maybe we could talk to some other cities, and because there are many cities here in the county have municipal courts. I mean, some are courts of record, some aren't, but it's very common that a city council does oversee a municipal judge, city attorney, and dependent on other positions. And rather than guessing about it, we'll see what we can do to at least clarify some of it, if not all of it, for you, so that if there needs to be additional procedure, we'll see what's common or see what others are doing.
Council President Wolf.
Thank you, Councilor Hu, and I guess my question or wondering about that, and thank you, Rob, I appreciate the follow-up, because of course I put my school board hat on, and there is a procedure, right, that if it's a superintendent goes to the board, that there's through the complaint process a right for the board to hear that, but there is an appeal process. It goes, whether that's Department of Ed or separate agencies. So if there's no next step after we make a decision, that seems odd to me, because I don't know that I'm not sure if that, I appreciate what you're trying to accomplish. It just seems like there's no step beyond, and I don't know that we have that kind of authority. So if that makes sense, Rob, I appreciate you kind of following up to see what other cities do, because I'm just concerned about creating a process that really doesn't have an appropriate next step at a state level. So.
Thank you. We'll look into it, and I've seen the same correspondence, and at least it's a starting point.
We have no executive session scheduled. I would entertain a motion to adjourn, so we don't have to hear that anymore.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
The motion has been made to adjourn. Any discussion? Seeing none, all of those in, do you really want to take a roll call vote?
Well, we should, but I'll do it really fast.
Okay, please take a roll call vote.
Councilor Gadusi.
What is this for specifically?
To adjourn, Counselor.
To adjourn, yes. Aye. Yes.
Counselor Hu,
Yes.
Mayor Lube,
Yes.
Counselor Schlack,
Yes.
Counselor Shaw, Council
Yes.
President Wolf.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned. Good night, Tigard.